are young. Their defense is set. They just need to fix their O-line up a bit, and all they gotta do is draft a receiver in the draft. It's a great deal for Miami. And Miami also has built their culture up under Brian Flores. Tua, I think it's too young of an age to ask him to, to rebuild a culture. That's a lot to ask of Tua. Alright. So the Cowboys fire their defensive coordinator and their defensive line coach. By the way, they've given up the most points in franchise history in a terrible division. That is bad. The most points in franchise history. That's insane. And they're playing in a division with like a bunch of backup quarterbacks. Daniel Jones was out for like maybe 2 or 3 games, I don't know. Smith is a third string. And the Cowboys were rocking Andy Dalton for most of the year. I'm not one of those people who are going to be like fire McCarthy after this year. But don't make too big a deal out of this yet. Give him a couple years. Just wait a second. Alright, so I'm just gonna try to clarify this. Miami has a better deal right now. Like, this is a tough ask of Tua. Because they haven't hired a head coach, and they're rebuilding their culture. It's a very tough thing to ask of him. And it's going to take a couple years, Watson could just get in there, do his thing. So it's just tough to. It's going to take. I think. I think Tua can do it in a couple. I think Tua can do it, but it's going to take a bit. All right, so the CFP championship is tonight, and I can't wait because I just got into college football. But from what I've heard, it's a good thing if Ohio State wins, because you lose fans. Like, your ratings go down when you have the same person winning. Like, if the Yankees and Dodgers, the top 2 teams of baseball right now, when healthy, keep winning every year, they're going to lose interest. Fans are going to lose interest. They're like, okay, we know who's winning, just get this over with. Alabama has won plenty. If they win another, they will lose more fans. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's going to be at home rooting for Ohio State in this game. Rooting for change here. No more Alabama. Alright, so I am going to try to explain to people why it's a little crazy to have. Now, I'm not a bettor. I never have been. I never will be. But it's just crazy to have the Browns as a +10 against Kansas City. Now, it's not saying the Browns are going to beat Kansas City. They're not. I mean, you can make a case as to why they can beat Kansas City, but the chances are pretty low. But Kansas City hasn't beat a team by 10 since the Jets. The Jets are the last team they beat by 10 or more points. And I don't mind people winning by less than 10 points. I'm not about that stupid crap. Because the Packers did it last year and it got them the NFC Championship. So I don't mind it. But this is too much respect towards Kansas City. They are a great team, but they're not this good. Considering how well the Browns did against a good defense. The Browns were going against a good defense without their 2 best players, their 2 best defensive players, or their coach. What they did to the Steelers, scoring 48 on a good defense, is a little crazy there. They can beat the Chiefs, but it's very low chance. But guess what? It can happen. Anything can happen at this point. Alright, so we are about to probably go to the biggest news of the highlight of today, if you will. So we are moving on to alright. So Doug Peterson was fired. I think because now there are 7 teams, 7 head coaching vacancies. I think the Eagles now have the second best job. You should either trade Carson Wentz, because they will probably hire an offensive coach. You should probably trade Carson Wentz and nurture, if you will, Jalen Hurts, because they're probably going to hire an offensive coach. And I heard a report that the Niners, it's not confirmed, but they're going to look to move off Jimmy G. They might not, but they're going to look for it. The Niners and Colts should make a push for Wentz, because they need a younger, more dynamic quarterback. I know Wentz didn't do well this year, but if they're going to look to move off of their quarterbacks, Wentz is probably a good option. I know Watson's on the market, but I don't think he's a good fit there, and I don't think he wants to go there either. Darnold might be the best fit at San Francisco. The Colts, I'm not sure of. I'm going to have to think about that. But I like that. I like that job. The Chargers is still the best job, though. They're in a good place right now. The Eagles are kind of a mess right now, so we'll see what happens. All right. So the Steelers are a first round exit. This was a complete disaster. It looked like Ben was putting no effort in. And another thing I worry about the Steelers is they have no run game. When you have an aging quarterback, you need to have a run game. Like the Colts, they have an aging Phillip Rivers. They have Jonathan Taylor. And I like him. I think he's a good running back. But you have to have a run game when you have a quarterback at 38 years old. The Packers have a run game. The Saints have a run game. You know, like, the Bucks clearly have a run game now. The Steelers are a very loyal organization. They have very loyal fans. They have a loyal staff. You can't be loyal to Big Ben anymore. You just gotta cut ties with them. Without Bell, since Bell has left, they have been terrible on the ground. Alright, so, again with the CFP Championship, as much as I don't like it, Alabama is probably going to win this game. But the cover is 8.5, Ohio State plus 8.5. I would take that cover if I were a bettor. Because, I mean, when you look at it, they played Clemson twice. They beat them once. Kind of blew them out, in a sense. And the second time, they outplayed them, but they lost. If you know what I mean. You know? So the gap between Alabama and Ohio State isn't that big. I'm pretty excited to see this. It's going to be big for the draft. Because what if Justin Fields wins it all? What if Justin Fields upsets the 2 best teams in CFP the last, 10 years? Maybe we'll have to reconsider the stock. Probably not. Probably still Lawrence. But it's something to think about. It is. Alright, so I think we are winding down here. I think I'm on my final... oh, wow. This is a long podcast. Alright. This might be the longest podcast I've had. So I'm going to do my takeaways from Wild Card Weekend, or what they are calling it, Super Wild Card Weekend for each team that played this week, and what I expect to see in the next couple of weeks for the Super Bowl. Alright. Here we go. So for the Colts, they are missing one piece. The Colts got into the Bills' territory all 9 drives, And they're the first team to lose with 250 yards of offense and no turnovers. That's insane. And the reason for that is because they need a more dynamic quarterback. That is why. Alright, so that's my takeaway for them. My takeaway is for the Bills game. They are a very well-coached team. But how far can they go with an uber-talented QB? But the problem is they're relying on him too much, I feel like. You rely on him to run and pass. They can lose to the Ravens this week if they're that reliant on, they can lose if they're that reliant on Allen. How far can a talented young quarterback like him take you? I don't know. We'll see. Alright, so for the Rams, they were great except for Goff. They are 37-0 when leading at halftime. So they're very well coached, and their defense is awesome. But Goff is being restricted to throws, which is understandable. They didn't want to start him at the beginning of the game, but they have to, considering Wolford got hurt. Problem is, when you have a quarterback that's hardly passing, you can't be too reliant on the running game. And I know the Packers' run game is terrible, and that they could probably run all over them, but the Packers are going to be constantly scoring too. Because, you can't be too reliant on Akers. Tua, in Week 17 against the Bills. Bills were constantly scoring, and, the Bills were all, they kept scoring, and Tua was not making the over-the-top throws that he needed to. So if Goff isn't doing that, then they're not going to be the Packers in Lambeau. Alright, so the Seahawks game. Russ got cooked. He was sacked 5 times, making it 21 times in 4 games. He had a 41% completion percentage, and he had a 72 quarterback rating. The Seahawks have to get a corner and bulk their secondary. That's all I got to say about that. Alright, so the Bucs. Other than the Rams, I think they are the only other team other than the Rams, the only other low-seeded team who I think can sneak into the Super Bowl. They have 2 running backs who can run up and down the field with ease. Fournette had a respectable 93 yards and a touchdown. I think if there were 2 teams I had to pick that are low seed but can win the Super Bowl, it's the Rams. They got a great defense. Their run game is strong. They have a great coach. Bucs, they have the GOAT as their quarterback. They have a good running game. They have a strong coach. And they have a great receiving corps. Alright, so for the football team, they have a bright future with Chase Young. He's a great defensive end. Their defense this year was 2nd in total yards, 2nd in passing yards, and 4th in points. They have the best defensive line in the league already. It's only going to get better with Chase Young developing. And they have a star wideout and a solid running back. All they need is a younger quarterback who doesn't have 17 surgeries in his past. Alright, so the Ravens, defense wins championships. They won this game with defense. Despite Lamar's flashes in the game, overall, he didn't have a great offensive game, He showed flashes where he was clutch, but overall an average game. But this makes them scarier, honestly. The fact that Lamar doesn't have to do that, he doesn't have to play well like normal Lamar to win. Their defense can step up too. It's scary. And so they can beat the Bills. They're tough. They're a tough team to beat. So the team on the losing side, the Titans. Derrick Henry was shut down in this game. And I feel like this game exposed Tannehill. I think it showed that Tannehill was relying on Henry to elevate himself.